All right, so let's get into it today, a little bit about AI. We'll get into how AR, VR is connecting into AI, some of the tool sets that are playing into all of these potential opportunities, and of course, how all of this maybe connects to Web3. And there's only a handful of companies that are doing all those things. Today, we're going to feature that. It's going to be an interesting one. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. If you follow our channel, then you know that we really talk about forward-leaning technology. We look obviously at crypto in a big way, but we also look at the driving forces of where technology is going. And part of this is, of course, blockchain, Web3. Now we see more and more movement here in AR, VR, and of course, AI. And along with that, you probably have watched us talk about Unity before. If you look back here on our YouTube channel, we were actually on this quite some time ago. 3 months ago, we were talking about how Unity was partnering up with Solana, Immutable X, etc., and what was happening with that and why it was a very intriguing opportunity to look at for some growth. So I want to get into a few things here. We're going to go to a clip here on other analysts talking about Unity. So listen in on this one.
Today, benchmark analyst Mike Hickey, for example, said that he's rating Unity stock a sell. He says, quote, "We believe AI and machine learning could be destructive to both Unity's growth and profitability," and added that it's possible a startup could make similar products as Unity at lower expenses and possibly taking market share. Why is he wrong?
Look, I think a lot of your audience probably has tried ChatGPT and used natural language to get an outcome from that, but you also use Word as a tool or a Google Doc as a tool to edit that. Unity is an editor, and so it embraces both natural language and the tools you need to create things. And so when we think about whether it's a natural language model or a content model, like many that are out there, generative art model, they're going to need an editor, and that's what we primarily provide. We also provide technology that really no AI can provide, which is a runtime, which basically, if you're hitting a triangle button on your PlayStation, I'm hitting the X button, that interaction needs to be ingested in the moment. And an AI is not going to easily accommodate that. So simply put, we think we're in a brilliant position to help our creators produce content better, faster, cheaper, and also have them do things like I was talking about, the characters in a game. That's possible because we can run AI on a mobile device using our Barracuda technology.
All right, so I think that's being the CEO at Unity, he responded to that because there has been analysts out there that have questioned the probability of Unity really kind of exploding. And yes, Unity has taken a large fall. We'll look at the charts here and see if there is an opportunity here and some of the key plays that could be happening that you guys need to watch for. One of the news items here is, of course, from their blog. Unity is introducing Muse and Sentis, which is an AI-powered creativity suite. So if you look at a couple of videos within this, they're announcing the two AI products, the Muse and Sentis, which allows you to embed neural networks into your builds, enable previous unimaginable real-time experiences. And he kind of hit it on the head of, the tools that you use for kind of playing again to what Unity means. Let me play this clip from their blog right here. Let's go into this one. Kind of see what they're getting ready to launch here with Muse. I mean, it literally, you see the plugins here starting to really generate kind of much like ChatGPT. Further into what they're talking about, let's take a look at this one.
Hello there.
Greetings.
What's your name?
My name is Orb. I'm an extraterrestrial visitor who has come to Earth to study and understand humans.
What hairstyles would you choose if you had hair?
If I had hair, I would probably go for a messy bun or ponytail. I like.
All right, so some interesting aspects here. Again, more growth into where AI integrations are going to be going within tool sets and technologies like Unity. Some other aspects here, of course, you guys probably saw this in terms of their marketplace, and this again gets into the opportunity of really empowering creators to kind of leap to the next level. This is just another example of how far they are advancing and how quickly they're advancing. And remember, this is more of a software play than a hardware play, and we'll get into a little bit of that in a second. I want to jump over to a clip here real quick, and this is more about what's happening with Meta around this.
Unity is chosen by most developers within that industry because we're so committed to making sure that you're getting to the device platforms as they continue to come out, and we give you those tools to help you innovate on those platforms. I am excited to announce that in 2023.2, we will be expanding AR Foundation to run on Meta Quest devices. This will give you a cross-platform solution to start bringing the real world into your Quest games. In addition to features like device tracking, plane detection, and anchors, Unity will support an easier way to incorporate a pass-through camera into your game.
All right, so that's one example of quite a bit of opportunities for creators. Let's take a look at this next clip, which is where Apple Vision starts to play into this as well. Look at what they have to offer there.
Unity has worked with Apple to bring the full Unity experience to this new platform. Triband brought their Apple Arcade title, What the Golf, which is built in Unity, to this platform. It's really fun to play on an iPhone, and it feels great to play it this way.
Here's an example of some of these elements working together. This scene uses materials built with Unity's shader graph, and it's being displayed in the shared space in the simulator with pass-through. All of the residents of this town are using character navigation to move around, and custom dynamic scripted behaviors are used to make this scene feel alive. Here's the same castle scene you saw earlier. I have it open in Unity on the left, and with Play to Device, I can see it running in the simulator on the right. I can add more ogres just by dragging them into my scene. They're instantly visible in the simulator or device. If I want to see how pink or neon green ogres look, I can. Play to Device is a really efficient workflow for iterating on your content, and it's currently available in Unity only for creating content in the shared space. This sample uses tapping, hand tracking, and plane detection in an unbounded volume scene. You can look at a surface found via ARKit plane detection and create flowers by dragging your finger along it. Finally, Bluetooth devices such as keyboards, controllers, and other supported devices are available for you to access through Unity's input system.
All right, so you can see there's leaps forward here in terms of how technology and, more importantly, game development and even AR and VR applications that are going to play out in the space are really going to accelerate here. Just to give you a few tweets, this is a good example. Here's almost like an NFT marketplace. This was done by Mentify within Apple Pro Vision, Vision Pro. And then next one here, again, just another example of how AR and VR will integrate. All of this, of course, tied into what's happening with Unity. This is MintVase talking about their NFT app concept for Vision OS, which is obviously Apple's next step in AR VR. And I don't know if you guys are looking at AR VR. I mean, you know, from a application of you maybe not building anything, but you experiencing something. Which route are you taking? Are you looking at Apple because it's a little pricey, or are you going the route of Meta? Love to kind of get you guys' feedback. Drop some comments down below. Remember also that Unity has tied into a couple of very key things here with Venly. Game platform development, you can kind of see that with Unity and Unreal, but there's the back-end service right there. Unity also playing there with AWS. And then you see the potential here with all of the blockchain. And we've reported on this quite heavily and extensively of the integration into Venly and what that might mean for blockchain. And again, this is just more potential power to where Unity is going to be going. Let's go to this next clip, which is a little bit more on Metacast and where they're going. Look at it. Look at this one.
Unity is a game changer for live sports. We're using the Unity engine to develop Metacast, a new platform that serves audiences with the freedom, choice, and interactivity they crave. Soon, any capture system will do. Just use the Unity real-time 3D engine and Metacast to transform any octagon, any basketball court, any rugby pitch, any sport, anywhere.
Now, if you remember, we did a big breakdown when Apple released, the Vision, and one of the things that we focused on was sports. And obviously, this tweet right here, this is X Stadium, obviously the alternative to that for Meta. But when will people start to realize it isn't brand new and it doesn't cost $4,000? X Stadium is available now on MetaQuest. And remember those visuals that we took a look at back then? This was when Bob Iger was on stage and he started talking about what the future might look like. This is the exact same thing that we're going to. And Unity is going to be a big part of this from the sporting community. So this is a big deal. And I think it is only going to get into a position of opportunity here for the Unity stock, but more importantly, some of the partners and a lot of the industries that they start to affect. Here was coming in from the Kobayashi letter. Chip stocks today, NVIDIA was down a little bit, AMD, INTC, of course, the Taiwan Semiconductor, and then MU is down, all this. So this comes from basically a report that U.S. could stop the shipments of chips made by NVIDIA to others in China. So that would be a big deal if it is conceded in the sense of kind of constructing that. One big difference here is that this may not necessarily be a hardware play. If you look at where Unity is going, they're really leaning in on software. And we've had Lynn Alden on a couple of times here. Actually, I think maybe in the last one. I don't know if we talked about Unity, but she makes a really good point here. Let's go and listen to her clip.
So I think, for example, a theme that I've been emphasizing is that for decades now, people generally underestimate software growth and how impressive software would be over a multi-decade time frame, but they overestimate hardware growth. And by that I mean any engineering system that interfaces with the real world. So we overestimated what space travel and commercial air travel would look like. We overestimated how quickly we'd have like robots and flying cars and things like that. So anything that kind of interacts with the real world, it runs into physics, it runs into trying to navigate this this entropic world we live in. That's always harder than we expect and slower than we expect and not really exponential.
All right, so you can see, I mean, we've kind of dived into this with Lynn before and other analysts that are pushing in that direction. And when you think about that, software versus hardware, this really creates a much bigger opportunity and a much bigger picture of where all this could be going. If you look at just Adobe and what, if you were following Lynn and what she kind of mentioned there, you could kind of just see this is the kind of movement we've seen right here in 2023 from Adobe. If you look back here in November, this was trading at 285. Now, of course, Adobe at almost not quite double, but 484 right now. And that's the kind of thing that I think we are getting ready to see with Unity. Now, I've got some other clips here. Let me jump over to this one real quick. This one is talking about Cathie Wood.
I think we are going to be shocked at the productivity gains that artificial intelligence will unleash. To see hardware like NVIDIA get a multiple like 25 or 26 times revenues, that's not times earnings, that's times revenues. Whereas many of the software companies in which we have, or to which we have exposure, they are priced in the 2 times revenues. So it sort of flipped the world on its head. Most investors have gotten used to hardware being lower multiple and software being higher multiple. So it's a very interesting time.
Microsoft actually surpassed Intel in revenue, and now 10, 20 years later is multiples of Intel's revenue. So the hardware was the necessary investment first, but the companies that were delivering the software experiences on top of it were able to generate much more revenue after that initial investment cycle and at higher gross margins as well. Now that we've had the ChatGPT moment, the fastest application to 100 million users ever, everybody is scrambling to invest in the hardware so that they can deliver these products and services down the road. So you can think of every purchase of AI hardware today going to fund some product or service that's delivered through software in the future.
All right, software eating the world, kind of the approach that has been out there in the tech space for quite some time. I would agree. I think Wood is right. She is ahead of this in terms of the curve. If you follow her innovation funds, you kind of understand that because of her, if you're following the investment, you start to get that. This was a clip by the Unity CEO that further entails why this is going to be so important in the future. Look in.
These worlds, when they're built, will be so compelling, in my view, that it's going to drive a growth spurt in gaming that, like the likes of which we haven't seen since 2D became 3D or we saw the internet. Imagine the holodeck. We've been wanting this for a very long time. We're going to get it. Given the size of the prize, the most important developers on the planet will put anything in terms of effort and spend to make their product better and more compelling.
All right, so he mentioned something there, which I think maybe some of you don't realize if you're not a Trekkie fan, is the holodeck. And when you think about an immersive experience like that, if you think back into the world of Star Trek, it was like a training, exercise device that was used there. And I think he is exactly on point because we've already started to see this, and it's very early stage. Unity is going to be the company that brings us that level of experience in gaming and most likely in other areas as well. If you look at just where their stock is right now, trading at 43, I want you to go down here and take a look at these numbers right here. These were the earning calls right there. Okay, this was March this year. They beat right there on their EPS, but their revenue beat almost 5% coming up. And then in the previous quarter, December of 22, they beat almost 3% right there. If they do this again, which I anticipate they will, and their next date is right here, August 8th. Right here is the date you want to put on your calendar because that most likely is going to be another earnings number. And remember, they've got a lot of additional partnerships. There's a lot more opportunity here for them. This may be the next opportunity to see Unity kind of take off. If you look back at the weekly chart, this is just the weekly chart on Unity, you can kind of see the opportunity here. This was back in November in the era of all-time highs in crypto, but it was mostly the metaverse high that Unity was experiencing here, and then the fall off that we've had right there. So the position maybe to where we are right now, you're talking about 78% drop right there. A lot of people are looking at that, but then when you start to really expand this out and see where Unity has come in just this short period of time, we're starting to see some movement here on where this stock is getting ready to move. And let's just take on the weekly right here from May back up to here. We're already up 54% from this bottom. So those are the kind of gains. If you were looking at this back 3 months ago when we started isolating this as a potential accumulation opportunity, mainly because it plays into that trifecta that I talk about so much, and that is AI, AR, VR, and blockchain. When you have something that kind of intersects all worlds, you are into something that potentially is the future of technology. And I think Unity may be the poster child for this. So we're continuing to watch it. It's one that we like, but I also look for the partnerships because the partnership I think are going to really convey where a lot of blockchain projects are going to be going, what we might see in the metaverse world, and especially into blockchain gaming and even the future of gaming overall, which will apply to NFTs and the creativity around that. Unity is going to be a part of all those kind of things. All right. Hopefully this was a good rundown for you guys. And it's one of those things you can catch here, of course, on our channel. But one of the things you probably, if you're not already doing, is get in on our Diamond Circle, because that's another place where we do additional content, podcasts. We do our Web3 podcast over there. We do additional content and TA analysis that all gets driven out over there on the Diamond Circle. And it's very easy because it's free. So just click the link down below. And of course, you can catch me out there on Twitter @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.